Valley in the Mackinac Policy Conference, where 7 Action News is talking to some of the movers and shakers there.
Yeah, hello, Stephen. Good evening.
You know, education and jobs are really on the agenda up here, but there is some kind of a problem that nobody can ignore, and they're talking about up here. It's potholes. We all know what those are and how bad they are, but today on the stage, Governor Snyder talked about potholes specifically in an area we all know really well, Southfield.
Would you consider instituting or looking at toll roads and bringing those back to Michigan to assist in the funding of our roads?
No, I appreciate the question, and I'm glad you asked, because I'm happy to give you some information on that one. And I appreciate your situation in Southfield. There's a stretch on Greenfield. I almost decided to call NASA and ask if I could get a lunar rover to go over that. Part of the deal when the interstate highway system was done is the federal government paid most of the cost of that. So their position on toll roads, and they actually talked about reevaluating, but their position is if you want to take a freeway and make a toll road, you can do it, you just need to pay them back. And so that really makes it cost prohibitive to ever think about any road that's a freeway of making a toll road.
Slide. Yes, sir. Okay. Detroit's emergency manager Kevin Orr now joins us. So we're moving from the subject of roads to the subject of bankruptcy, one that you know quite well. Now, news of the day is yesterday apparently the mayor of Detroit let it be known that once you're gone in September, that he wants Jones Day gone also.
Well, I think there was sort of a correction on that. That was sort of a misstatement, and I think Judge Rose expressed some concern. I think the mayor responded to that. So that's not exactly where we are right now. I understand the concern, but I think it's been corrected.
How would you say the whole thing is going on track? I know there was a time we talked to you, I don't know, 6 months ago, and you felt you were kind of running behind, but now suddenly it seems like you're almost running ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a good observation. We made up a little bit of time, but you know, I'm taking nothing for granted. We've got 3 big milestones at least coming up. We've got to get the funding out of the Senate. We've got to get the vote in from the stakeholders, both the creditor class and our labor class, both the unions, and we've got to get through a confirmation hearing, and any one of those milestones can trip us up. So I'm taking nothing for granted.
Now, speaking of tripping up today, the suburbs were a little upset about the whole water department deal, part of this grand bargain, believing that they should not be beholding to these problems of the past of the water department. Will that hold up the bankruptcy?
I certainly hope not. The proposal we have actually is front-end funding of their pension obligation that's related to the water department anyway, and actually it's cheaper. It's more cost effective if people would take a step back, stop having such emotional responses, and look at the actual numbers. It's a cheaper consequence for 10 years as opposed to 40 years of funding, which originally was proposed. So we understand their concerns, and some of them are quite valid. You know, the delinquency rates, the capital spend, we appreciate that. But the proposal we have is both rate neutral, and also assist them with dealing with some funding obligations that are directly related to the department now.
All in all, how do you think that the process of the bankruptcy is proceeding? Are we looking good for a strong Detroit out of all of this?
Yeah, I'm going to be guardedly optimistic. Here again, I'm taking nothing for granted. Anything can happen, and if you told me a year ago we'd have $816 million in funding, a strong vote out of the House, agreements with some of our labor counterparties, settlements with some of our creditors, an ambitious schedule that we're actually meeting, and changing our swap payment from interest only to principal reduction going forward, I would have said that can't happen in that amount of time, but it has. And likewise, I'm very hopeful we would keep to the schedule that gets us out of here in terms of the fall, at least gets the emergency manager in a system. But that may not happen, and we'll have to deal with that. But in the meantime, we're moving forward. We just have to keep this momentum going forward. That's it.
One last question. Can you do anything about bringing this weather back to Detroit?
This is Chamber of Commerce weather, if you'll excuse the pun. I mean, it's gorgeous out here. Lovely venue. Happy to be here.
All right. Kevin Orr, thank you so very much for stopping by.
As always, a pleasure.
All right. Detroit's emergency manager, Kevin Orr. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah.